Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Nikola Petkovic and today I'll be talking to you about Dubai real estate market in 2022. The topic or points of this video will be for you to understand why the market is where it is and what can we expect moving forward. So in the video we'll be talking about inflation rates, interest rates, price of oil, construction material prices, and tourism as well, what's expected in this year. I will also be giving you at the end of the video, I will give you some stats for the quarter one, the first quarter of this year, and the previous month, which is the month of April. After looking at this video, you should be having a more clear idea of why the market is where it is, what can we expect moving forward, and based on that, you can easier make a decision if you want to enter this market or you perhaps want to wait. So let's start with the video. The first thing we'll be talking about is inflation. Now, inflation rates and generally inflation is something we have been listening to for the past 2 years, pretty much since the corona outbreak. And we can see on this chart on the right the current inflation rate in US, which is about 8.5%. And if you look at the chart, you'll see that this is the largest inflation for the last 25 years approximately. So it is at the highest point. That's why everybody there is complaining, blaming other people or any sort of circumstances, but it's very important to understand it and how it affects everything, right? Now, you can see that slightly after 2020, within 2020, the inflation has suddenly started rising because of different factors, one of which is the printing of enormous sums of money. While we are here in United Arab Emirates and we are paying attention to our situation as well, but we have to pay attention to US as well because dirham, the currency of United Arab Emirates, is actually tied to United States dollar. Now, we can see that inflation here in Dubai has risen as well, but it's about between 2 and 2.5%, or somewhere around 2% at the moment. And some sources like Emirates MBD Bank is expecting it to rise a bit during this year, but to generally be around 2.5% at the end of this year. Now, when we go to interest rates at the moment, first, we need to understand what interest actually is. So the interest rate is the amount that a borrower is charged for the privilege of taking money, being loaned that amount of money. And the interest rate is actually the amount or percentage that you are being charged on top of the principal, which is basically the amount that you took. So if you took, let's say, 1 million dirham from the bank as a loan, the interest will be on top of that 1 million dirham, and then that's how it's calculated. Now, interest rates are also important and they change from time to time in majority of the countries around the world. They are very largely depending on the current state of economy. So we can see, for an example, that interest rates were low at the time when the economy was not that good, it was not healthy, right? Or, for an example, during this pandemic of COVID-19, what people basically did, and governments and different central banks around the world, what they did is, or at least what they thought they need to do, is to reduce the interest rate so money will become more available. When interest rate is 0 or 1, the money is pretty much free, right? So you are returning a very small amount on the amount that you actually borrowed. So once this is done, it actually invites people to borrow more, which gives them more flexibility to invest, make any sort of investment or do with the money what they intended to do, right? But when the economy is good, and especially when inflation is high, then what you will do is the case what's happening now, that all the central banks around the world are actually raising the interest. Why? Because there is already too much money in circulation, right? So what they want to do is they want to raise the interest rates so the money will become more expensive, sort of say, right? So it will be harder to borrow it and less people will decide to borrow it because they will have to return more. So, as I said, maybe the best term and easiest term to understand it is by saying that money has become more expensive when you are trying to borrow it, right? And that's the point. That's the point about interest rates. So what's happening here in UAE? It has been increased, and as you can see on this chart, currently it's 2.25%. This is the interest rate that's given by the central bank, and then the actual banks from where you are taking a loan from, they will top that up because they need to earn something as well. But it's very important to understand that and to understand the effect that it has on properties, because this will make actually end users, who are people who want to live for themselves, who are buying the first property, who are not necessarily investors who are gonna buy for cash, or who's gonna use some sort of payment plan, or people who are just working to collect the 20% which is needed for the down payment, and then to go through the actual mortgage from the bank. If they know about this, if they are educated about this, they will be thinking more, right? So they will not really be saying, okay, it's a perfect time for us to go for this, the interest rates are low or whatever. No, because that is not the case. So they will be thinking more, which means there will be less people like that entering the market, and it's definitely more difficult for them, knowing this, to enter the market when they are expecting higher interest rates than they were, let's say, a year ago or something like that. But on the other hand, what it will do, it will also push the rental prices and sale prices higher. Why? Because the properties that are already there, and people who already own them, they will be demanding to increase the price because we still have the demand, right? But now to enter the property market, it is more difficult, which means even for them, if they are going to do that for an investment, if they're gonna use this loan to make an investment and rent the property out, they will be trying to rent it at higher prices. Why? Just so this increased interest, so it doesn't go out of their pocket. They will try to actually push this by increasing rents. They will try to push it on the tenant. So they will ideally want the tenant to pay this amount for them, so they can keep the original amount that they intended, right? So they will try to basically push this sort of increased interest rates onto the tenant, and that's also important to understand. So judging by everything that's going on now, we will keep having these increased prices, although this factor regarding mortgages can go either way. It depends on the overall demand. So if the majority of buyers are actually people who are paying with cash one time, or using payment plans, who have no need for the bank, then it doesn't really have much of an effect. It actually has the effect to increase the property price and to increase the rents as well. But if a majority of people who are entering the market, who are buying, are first time buyers, who are actually mortgage buyers, then we can see the reverse effect happening. So I hope that's a little bit more clear. Now we'll move on to the oil price. The oil price, as you can see on this chart on the right, it has reached highest level after 2012. So at the moment, the barrel of oil is about 109, $110. This is, as we can see, a huge jump from 2020, and it means a lot for any government, for any country that is actually oil producing and exporting, right? We see the prices of gas and petrol are actually high in any country around the world, and this is actually benefiting, as I said, people who are oil producing country. Now, of course, United Arab Emirates is one of the oil producing and exporting countries, so this is actually good for the GDP of the country, and it's good for the government because they are being able to charge more for the same product they are giving, and the surplus of this is definitely going to the government, and we know that government here is using those kind of funds wisely, right? And this is something good because everyone who's living here will actually have will actually be able to feel the effect of this, not only through paying higher at the petrol stations, right? Because this money will be reinvested and it will be used for country to gain further, to be more prosperous, right? Now we can see some of the stats on the left. If you see, like production has well actually 12% from the quarter one of 2021, where it was already pretty high, especially compared to the year back, right? GCC economies overall, because of this, have had a tremendous start now in 2022. And overall, look at this. Overall, or average 5.9% in this year is what's expected between these countries, right? You have a state here as well, which says from 2011 2012, when oil was averaging $111 per barrel. This will be the stat right here. If you see this blue top where my mouse cursor is. So we are now at 110, which is pretty close. It might go higher than this. It depends what happens next, because plenty of countries now are pushing for more fuel to be delivered, more oil to be delivered and digged. So if that happens, it might reduce the price of oil. But again, for the past 2 years, there is huge benefits for these type of countries. We're coming to something that's directly, I mean, everything is directly actually affecting real estate and construction, but we are coming to something that's slightly easier to understand, which is the construction materials, right? So inflation, as it's hitting everything else, it's hitting construction materials as well. And that's then directly affecting anyone who's developing, or developers that we are buying properties from, right? Construction material prices have risen 20% from January last year, 2021, to January this year, 2022. Now, to understand that and the impact it has, this is on literally every element there is. On average, there is 20% increase in 1 year, which is absolutely huge. So the price index for steel, for an example, which is absolutely most used in any development, right? It has actually risen 112% for the last 12 months. So essentially a little bit over doubling in price. The price index, for an example, for plastic has rose 35%. The architectural coating rose has 24.3%, and lumber and plywood also rose 21.1%. Now, if you look at this picture, you'll see how it directly actually influences people who are buying properties and people who are selling them, of course, because people who are selling them will be able to sell them for a higher price. Why? Because to develop new property now, it costs more. So the contractors and the developers have to pay higher prices to develop, for an example, the same product that they could develop at least 20% cheaper 2 years or 3 years ago. So real estate is not something that can easily be produced. So to create certain tower, let's say with 300 apartments, you need at least 3 years to do it. So it's not something that's really duplicatable. And especially when you have a lot of demand like we have here right now. So this is definitely also going to increase the prices and push the prices to go in the direction they have been going for so long. Which means the prices are probably still going to keep increasing, because this is not stopping, and inflation, which we have mentioned, is making this actually worse. We saw that inflation is rising constantly, which is definitely going to affect everything else, among other things, the construction materials as well. But again, this gives you an important information, because you know that it's actually a good time to enter the market, because this is going to keep going this way. And you know that you will be able to, once you actually own it, you will be able to sell it for a higher price once the prices and the inflation keeps going on. So it's actually, it can be good depending on your position. The people who actually own a lot of real estate, they have no problems with this, because the inflation cost of this construction material and everything else we mentioned, it's actually going on their hand, right? It's going the way they want to, because their portfolios are increasing in worth. this is something that you can apply for yourself as well. Now, another important factor is tourism, right? Tourism in 2022 is very hot, if we can say, especially the start of the year where we had the Expo ending. Now you can see it on the left that TripAdvisor's most popular destination, and TripAdvisor has actually selected Dubai for the most popular destination of 2022, holiday destination, right? You can see that London is number two. Then we have certain other places in these are top 10. But what this means again is extra demand, right? The people who will benefit from this the most are people who are renting their properties on short-term basis. So people who are have properties in prime areas where there is a lot of tourists, right? Then if you're renting it on a short-term basis like Airbnb or something like that, you will be able to there will be more demand, so you will be able to rent it more easily and you will be able to charge more for your property per night or per week or however you are renting it. Recently, an article came out as well that Dubai is most profitable, expensive location in the world when it comes to Airbnb, and with a stat that says that in Burj Khalifa area they are actually charging $1,150 per night. So that's obviously a high figure. Now, on the right, you can see as well the source of markets for visitors to Dubai and compare the year 2021 and 2022. So huge increase overall. This is for January. As I mentioned, in January we still had Expo going on. That's a fact to keep in mind, but nevertheless, as you can see, January in 2021 we have 2,000, because figures are in thousands, 2,000 visitors from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and in January this year there were 105,000. Everything is in surplus except India. So more people from India has actually visited Dubai last year in quarter one than actually have this year 2022 in January especially. But the numbers are huge, and these numbers are expected to keep up. Maybe not at this volume because Expo has ended, but this is definitely a top destination for holiday, for spending time, and overall with family or just to have fun. We know that also Dubai airport is one of the busiest in the world, so we can definitely expect traffic here. Anyone who's living in Dubai is still feeling the traffic. We know that roads are being very occupied. We are constantly having traffic. So again, anyone who is actually living here is feeling that as well. Now I'll give you the stats for the previous quarter. So in quarter one of this year, there has been total of 20,639 transactions, right? So 20,639 properties included land, villas, apartments, commercial properties, everything regarding real estate has been transacted from one owner to another. Now, what's important here? You can see the increase based on quarter, so 14.9%. And you can see the increase from the quarter one of last year, 2021, which is also generally speaking a good year as well, because we just exited the corona outbreak and everything that happened there, right? So 78.5% is the increase in the first quarter of 2022 versus first quarter of 2021. This is a huge figure here. You can see here the number of apartments, the number of villas that has been transacted. So number of apartments is absolutely dominating here, 13,000, almost 400. You have commercial and plots as well, but you see the focus is on apartments first and foremost, and after that on villas as well. 76.6% difference between this quarter and the last quarter, quarter one of 2021, the last year, and 56% increase in transaction for villas. Now, S&P Global Ratings also said that last month, property prices and rents in Dubai residential market will continue to increase in 2022, as we can judge from everything we have seen and talked about so far. And the line of 2021 increase will will most likely continue, right? Now, if you look at this first graph on the in the top right corner, what you will see is the comparison of the first quarter for the last from actually 2014 to 2022. So for the last 8 years, right? As you can see, 2022 is absolutely dominating this graph, which is quite visible. So the volume of transactions that we have had in this quarter is the best since 2014. The entire quarter, so of course it's for 3 months. Only in March we reached about 7,865 transactions, and that's that's up from 5,598 in February. As you can see, it's the best one in the last 8 years and by far. On this lower graph, you can see the top best performing areas dominated by Business Bay. After that, we have Damak Lagoons, Jumeirah Village Circle, also known as JVC, Downtown Dubai, and Dubai Marina. So these are the top 5 areas where a majority of people have invested. The top 5 areas where most of the transactions have happened, and you can see the volume as well. Over 2,000 units have been transacted in Business Bay only during the quarter one of this year. Now for the April, which is start of quarter two, right? A lot of people were actually talking about when Expo finishes, everything will be back to normal, or the prices will fall, or this or that will happen, right? So let's see if that's the case, because Expo has been done, and look at the stats of April. In April itself, only April as a month, right? First to last day of April, we had 6,976 transactions. Again, 44.2% increase from April 2021, right? 55% when compared to April last year in apartments only. Now we can see that 4,542 out of 6,976 total transactions are only apartments. 1,814 villas, 228 commercial, and 392 plots as well. So again, compared to April from 2021, the only last transactions that happened is regarding commercial properties, but the huge increase for apartments, and then followed by villas and plots as well. On this bottom graph, what you can see is value of the properties and overall transactions. As you can see, overall, it has been dominated by apartments, where 46%, and followed by villas at 34%, with commercial properties only 3%. Understandably, why they have fallen after everything that has happened with Corona and working from home and everything else. So plots are also increased to 17%. The land is more valued now, obviously. There is more and more construction that's going, more and more properties are getting ready, so the land is increasing in value as well, and there's a lot of people who buy and hold land for it to increase the value as well. That's also a good investment, but again, completely dominated by apartments and followed by villas as well. So as we see so far, and from everything we've gone through, most likely this entire year is gonna keep the trend from the last year, and the prices will be increasing. Will they be increasing in exactly the same pace as the last year? We don't know that, and of course, anything can still happen, right? These things can change often and sudden. But from what's available right now and everything, if we draw a conclusion from everything we have seen, is that prices will definitely keep going up. Rental prices will be going up as well. There is a huge demand in the market, the demand which has not been seen actually for the past 6, 7, 8 years, stated, that can be seen from these stats, right? So if you want to enter the market, it will be a good time, and there is again plenty of demand, which will also rise the prices next to everything else we have talked about. If you have any questions regarding this, or if you are looking to buy a property in Dubai, you can always contact me, and we'll try to get something for you, or listen to what kind of requirements and what a plan you have in your mind, and we'll find the property according to that. You can find my contact details below this video in description, or in the comment section. I will leave it as well. You have a link for WhatsApp as well. Just send me a message or give me a call or text message, doesn't matter. So we'll get in touch, and we will get you your property as well. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you like it and you find something useful. And the next video that I will be producing and uploading will be regarding a little bit more deeper into Dubai economics as well, and how it all affects real estate. So stay in touch, stay subscribed, because I plan on making more. Thank you very much for your time. Bye bye.